president of the corporation's board of directors. Feel free to eat your salads, please. We'll begin with the meal a bit later, but please feel free to eat your salads as we go. As we get started, I'd like to start with a little bit of history about Bethany St. Joseph's Corporation. Bethany St. Joseph Corporation dates back to 1975, when then Catholic Bishop Iverson Freking and president of Bethany Lutheran Home Corporation, Carl Iverson, began to work together in an ecumenical effort to purchase a recently built nursing home on the south side of the cross. The new corporation was formed in 1977, and Bethany St. Joseph Care Center opened then, 47 years ago. There was complete balance on the Catholic and on the board of directors of Catholic and Lutheran communities. The arrangement was one of the first in the country to be ecumenical in this plan. Today, that theme continues, and I'd like to begin by recognizing those who are currently on the board of directors who are attending here today. Please stand to be recognized. I ask that the audience please hold your applause until all are standing. Kay Barra, Chuck Hansen, Joe Kottner, Brad Korber, Bonnie Seisha, Steve Spildy, and I don't know if we might have had anyone else join in. If we could have a little round of applause for that. Briefly back to the history, 10 years after the corporation was founded in 1987, the corporation began sponsoring the Iverson Freking Ecumenical Recognition Award. The award acknowledges and recognizes the dedication of people to ecumenical activities and community building. It is based on spiritual example, respect for the faith of others, participation in a spiritual congregation, and commitment to the community. As mentioned, this is the 37th year of the Community Award. In that time, we have honored 84 individuals and couples. A list of all of those honorees is in your luncheon program, and it's also on the Bethany St. Joe's website if you'd ever like to view it there. I would also like to recognize past recipients who are here today. Please remain standing until after I call your name. And please, again, let's hold our applause until we've recognized everyone. These are in order of the year of receipt. Judith Buffler, 1988. Tom Thibodeau, 1991. Reverend Ted DeWald, 1993. Geda Hallnagel, 1993. Jerry Arndt, 2000. Pat Stevens, 2005. Sister Celesta Day, 2006. Sister Marlene Weisenbeck, 2008. Sister Kathleen Stitchin, 2013. Tom Hunt, 2014. James Steingraber, 2014. Sandy Brecky, 2015. Maureen Friedland, 2017. Bill Hole, 2017. Bill and Cindy Berg, 2019. Monsignor Del Moline, 2019. Reverend Mark Solist, 2019. Chuck Hansen, 2020. John Lickey, 2020. Kay Berra, 2022. Audrey Lucier, 2022. And Father Conrad Targansky, 2023. Are there any other past recipients who arrived who I have not recognized? How about we give these recipients I'd also like to recognize and introduce the CEO of Bethany St. Joseph's Corporation, Craig Melody. And now to begin the award presentation for this year, please welcome Brad Korber, who is our immediate past president on the board.
Well, thank you, Nick, and good afternoon, everyone. A little earlier this month, a meme on Facebook challenged browsers to familiarize themselves with the philosophy of Charles Schulz, the creator of the popular Peanuts comic strip. It asked people to name the 5 wealthiest people in the world, the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners, the last half-dozen Academy Award winners for Best Actor and Actress, and a few other noteworthy famous titles. Can anyone here do any of those? Name any of those? Well then, I'd ask people to list teachers who aided them in school, friends who helped them through a difficult time, people who taught them something worthwhile, others who made them feel appreciated and special, and people they enjoy spending time with. My guess is Barb and Joe Cruz would be on the list for a number of those questions for many of us, and I know they're on mine. The Cruzes greatly exemplify the 4 attributes sought in Iverson Freking Award recipients. They were mentioned: spiritual example, respect for the faith of others, participation in a spiritual congregation, and commitment to community. Joe and Barb set an admirable spiritual example. Both Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration affiliates, they have returned and shared generous Franciscan hospitality. Both have a deep respect for people, no matter what their faith may be. They accept others with a different understanding of God and support them in their journey of faith. Joe and Barb are involved in a spiritual congregation. At Mary, Mother of the Church Parish, Barb participates in the lector ministry, among other things, and Joe has partnered with others in founding Place of Grace, a Catholic worker house in La Crosse. And since coming to the La Crosse area in 1983, they have shown noteworthy commitment to our community. As a Franciscan Health and then Mayo Clinic Health Administrator, Joe was on the board for the Robert and Eleanor Frank Charitable Foundation, La Crosse Area Chamber of Commerce, and the La Crosse County Historical Society, among others. Along with working as a dietitian at St. Francis before teaching in dietary management at Western, Barb was a school secretary at her parish, served as a Franciscan Spirituality Center spiritual director, and many more things. Joe and Barb have received many individual recognitions and awards in our community. As well as working together, they have served as the La Crosse Mardi Gras Rex and Queen in 2005 and Oktoberfest Festmaster in Flower in 2016. But I know they will be remembered the most for how they've treated others and what they've done for others. Let's welcome recipients Joe and Barbara.
Our dogs earlier this morning, and they both lost interest pretty quick. No, you got it.
We're sharing.
Yeah.
Can you hear us okay?
Barb and I are very grateful for this day. It's such a gift to receive this recognition with Sister Mary Ann. She is truly remarkable in her zeal for our community. She sees what needs to be done and then works to get it accomplished. We are honored to share this day with her.
We're also grateful to Craig Bellotti and Gail Brussel and the entire Bethany St. Joseph's team for their work, caring for the elderly and the vulnerable in our community, and for their faithfulness to this work throughout the years. Thanks also to our family and friends who have come to celebrate this day with us. And thanks to our friend Brad Korber, who nominated us for this recognition. Thanks, Brad. Joe and I both have the opportunity from time to time to pick up our granddaughter Marvell at the Congregational Preschool on the corner of Losey and Main Street. And as you enter the door there's 4 signs that are posted in the window. You are welcome here. Kindness matters. Believe you can, and you can do hard things, are what the 4 signs say. Joe and I believe there's great wisdom in these 4 phrases, and we want to share our reflections on them with you today.
You are welcome here. When we came to La Crosse 40 years ago, there were many people who made us feel welcome. People that opened their hearts and homes to us. Some of those friends are here with us today. Others, sadly, are no longer with us. In those first few years, we both learned about the importance of hospitality. One of our teachers were the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. Any time that we were in contact with the FSPAs as a community or individuals, there was always an openness to our presence. They welcomed us and our boys into many rich and varied experiences of hospitality, more specifically, Franciscan hospitality.
Kindness matters. Kindness, rooted in gratitude, is a blessing to all. It is closely linked to hospitality, and we've had many who have offered us great kindness over the years. One of the most significant people has been my mom. My mom's name is Shirley, and she's been a role model for kindness. Her entire life has been a devotion to service and hospitality, rooted in kindness and consideration for others. Mom's 95 now. She has advanced dementia. She lives in a memory care in Forest Lake, Minnesota, just 2 blocks from where she grew up. She has plenty of reasons not to be kind at this point in her life, or grateful, yet the beautiful essence of herself is still very much intact, and she continues to pour that out into others who are with her and take care of her every day. We treasure every moment we can spend with her. She's a great example of Christ in our midst.
Believe you can. In 1994, Barb and I were invited by the Franciscan Sisters to experience a pilgrimage in Assisi, Italy. The pilgrimage was an amazing experience. It was an immersion into Franciscan spirituality and an invitation to reflect on our lives and respond to a call that we were hearing to serve. Upon our return, we gathered with our fellow pilgrims, Tom and Priscilla Thibodeau, and others in the community that were hearing the same call to serve. We started to pray together and to dream together. On Christmas Eve, 1995, we got the keys to a house on Hood Street. We called the house a place of grace. Our lives were transformed by the experiences we've had being part of a place of grace. We believed that we could do something that mattered, and now, 28 years later, the Place of Grace continues to offer food and services that make a difference in people's lives. One of our favorite stories about the Place of Grace, it happened just a few months, really, the following year after we opened. It was a Thursday night, we were serving dinner, the house was packed, there were people everywhere. And one of our guests is a woman named Jean. Jean is a special needs adult, but very dear to us all. And she liked to get dressed up. So that night she came to the Place of Grace in a black suit. She had on a black shirt and a black suit, black socks and shoes, everything was black. She looked great. Anyway, a little later in the evening, Bishop Burke, or Cardinal Burke, then Bishop Burke, came to the house to give us a gift for Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving time. And he came into the door, and he too had on an all black outfit that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Jean was so excited to see somebody else dressed like she was. She was on the opposite side of the room, and I remember, Barb and I were remembering, Earl Maderi was in the room, and he watched this happen, and there was sort of panic in his eyes because we were never sure what Jean was going to say. She got up and she rushed across the room and said to Bishop Burke, "Look, look, we're the same." And he grabbed her by the hands and he said, "Yes, we are. Yes, we are."
So let's talk about hard things. I'm going to tell you a little story about my dad. This has happened a while ago. It's probably about 20 years ago. It was a weekday evening, and he called just to check in and to visit for a little bit. We had a nice conversation, and I asked him what he was doing that night, and he said, "Well, I'm getting ready for a colonoscopy." Oh, okay, you know, and so I might have said, "Well, how's that going?" Anyway, so he, you know, talked a little bit about it, but he said, "Well, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well," I said, "you know, I'm just working on a little talk that I'm going to be giving at our church. We're having a Lenten mission. This was right during Lent, and you know, I was going to do one of the faith talks that night during the mission." And so I said, "Well," I just kind of told him what I was doing, and then it's quiet on the other end of the phone, and he says, "I think I'd rather be getting ready for the colonoscopy." So, you know, I guess hard things can be relative. We've all done hard things in our lives, and the invitations to do more are always on the doorstep. Invitations come in many forms. You know, visiting a sick friend, having a hard conversation, could be joining a club or a service club or a community board or a job change or befriending someone who lives on the margins, just to name a few. So how and when to say yes to some of these invitations is always a challenge for us. I mean, so the conversation that when Joe and I are invited into something together, sometimes could go about getting involved would go something like this. So something might come up, an invitation of some sort, and immediately Joe would say, "Hell yes, we can do that."
And then Barb says, "Now just a minute, let's just..." You know, if you say yes to one thing, you know, Joe, sometimes that means you're saying no to other things. And then she reminds me of all the other things that we're committed to and how that all might work out. And so the conversation begins.
We do work it out, but it might take a little while. Anyway, we've learned over the years that we can agree on the fact that the most important thing to do is to show up. We've all heard the famous Woody Allen quote, 90% of life is showing up. That's oftentimes a hard step, and yet it seems that once we've taken that step, that the next piece is found in place. We like the quote from Dan Berrigan, who was a Jesuit priest and anti-war activist, was a Christian pacifist and an author, and he once said, "Your faith is rarely where your head is at, nor is it where your heart is at." He said, "Your faith is where your ass is at." And his words, I mean, it's truly, his words continue to encourage us to show up.
We believe that the central purpose of life is to love, and the great religious traditions in the world place love at the center. There is little confusion about the importance of loving each other, yet it can be very difficult to live a loving life. At the Place of Grace, for instance, we have learned that while those who cook and do the dishes and clean are serving in an important way, the most challenging and loving act sometimes is to sit down with our guests and eat with them, talk to them, get to know them. Over and over, we have had the experience of real grace in our lives by simply being present, creating relationships, and trusting that God is in the midst of it all.
So we offer these thoughts for you today. You are welcome here. Kindness matters. Believe you can, and you can do hard things. In closing, we'd just like to share one of our favorite poems with you from the Sufi mystic Hafiz. He says, God and I have become like two giant fat people in a tiny little boat, and we keep bumping into each other and laughing. So we're grateful for this recognition and this time spent together. Peace and all good.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chuck Hansen, and I have the honor to introduce our next recipient. It has been said that many are called, but few are chosen. I like to think we're all called, but not all of us hear it. And if we do, we lack the courage to answer yes. Our next recipient said yes as a teenager. The lives of many people are better today because of her courage. As a child in elementary school and her first year at Aquinas, her childhood friend, John Wetstein, remembers that she was fun-loving, very popular, and a good student, always first or second at the top of her class. She was a great softball player, and she really loved parties. Now, I asked John for some details on the parties. He could only laugh, so it was a real surprise to John and her friends when she disappeared in her sophomore year, answering the call to religious service. Education was her focus. After graduating from St. Rose High School, she obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree from Viterbo and went on to receive a Master's in English from Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and then further an advanced degree in Education Administration from Michigan State University. Now, she's taught English to elementary, high school, and college students. And although retired, she never stops teaching English, happily and readily editing others' emails and board minutes, and of course, correcting John Wetstein's English. No daily participle will escape her watchful. Daryl Klotz, who regrets that she can't be here today, shared with me 4 fun facts about the recipient, not found in your program. Hooters was her favorite restaurant to across, and she was really sad when they left. She loved that they gave employment to college girls, and she loved the hamburgers. She loves shoes, and at least, at last count, she has 25 pair in her closet, plus 7 or 8 pair in the box in the garage. She loves college sports, both basketball and football. She is a fanatic fan of Michigan State, her alma mater. In fact, she plans her social schedule around the games. She has a gorgeous voice. She has sung Grace to the tune of Idolize for audiences of over 1,000, and also for small groups. Although devoted to the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration, and loyal to Aquinas High School, she's known to most of us in this room for her wisdom, humor, patience, and energetic support of many organizations throughout this community. Smart, organized, connected, and kind. She could be in charge when required, but often leads by example by just serving in whatever capacity that is needed, no matter how humble the task. She's comfortable on corporate boards and also playing the cowbell with the executive band at Leo and Leonis. She's a great fundraiser and will do almost anything to raise money to advance a good cause. For example, she's a champion for women's rights. One year at the annual Women's Fund luncheon, she was dressed head to toe in leather as a biker babe. No, just try to get that image out of your mind. There is a quote at the bottom of every email she sends that I'd like to share because I believe it embodies our next recipient. Love life and enjoy yourself today like there is no more tomorrow. You are blessed to be a blessing to others. Please join me in welcoming to the stage to receive the Iverson Freking Award, someone who is truly a blessing to us all, Sister Mary Ann Cushman.
All right, so thank you first of all for being here. And then of course I want to thank Barb and Joe for celebrating this together. When we were first announced as the recipients for this year's honor, I thought, there won't be room for anybody in that room except all the Oktoberfest people. But anyway, we all fit, so that's very good. And you know, for all three of us, I'm sure we've been sitting in this room for other people who were honored at this event, but it's a little different perspective being here and hearing everything that people say about you too. It's very humbling. So I'm very, very grateful for all of you, and thank you. Secondly, I want to thank Rick Tritley, the terrible president, for nominating me. Thank you so much, Rick. And then thanks to the Bethany St. Joe's Selection Committee for their vote, and for the board, of course, for their votes. I feel honored to be part of the distinguished group of all of you who have already been recipients. And then thanks for all the difference you've made and continue to make in your various modes of volunteering. A huge thank you goes to the shy woman that probably isn't even in the room, Gail Brussels. Gail has done this coordination of the event for 21 years, so she has it down to herself. And they're coming in 2 more sentences, thank you. Anyway, those of you who know me know that I came out of the room organized and I don't know how to operate unorganized. Well, Gail helps me beat, I'll tell you. Because I've been true from the first moment this all started, you know. And we get these reminders of this or that, or where did you went, and so on. And then we give her a bunch of stuff, you know, for the display board, and all of a sudden you have that magnificent thing that she did this morning. And it's just unbelievable. So she's a real gift to this organization. And she's very quiet and very gentle about everything she says or does. And then, find out this morning, I didn't think I'd have a corsage because I have allergies. And so I told her weeks ago now, you know, I can't have a flower corsage or I won't be able to function. This is artificial, folks. honest, it's paper. So leave it to Gail, I'll tell you. So thank you so much, Gail. Then in case you're wondering who's at my table, let me introduce these people. Michelle Tritley and Rick Tritley, and they just became first-time grandparents about 6 weeks ago. So. And then my cousin from my mother's side, Barb Schultz, she was a long-time teacher in the public school system here. And then my local community, Sister Lisa Smuda, and then Sister Julie Tiedrick, and then Sister Sharon Berger. And then my friend Judy Tiedrick, and Judy Kirkpatrick in the middle. Has been my friend for over 50 years because we went to Michigan State together for 2 years. And on the same floor, so that was fun. And then, this is an ecumenical table too because Barb's Lutheran and Judy is Methodist, so we kind of fit the occasion. And then also at my table are Megan Fiammo, Paulino, Meg was my secretary for several years in the archives, and then now she is the archivist for a year and a half already, doing a great job. So, and they're also friends and neighbors of Joe and Barb. And you know what she said when the dogs were barking so loudly this morning? She wasn't sure why. It was a good speech, though. And then you're going to think we planned our speeches together after a while, but we didn't ask. Anyway, so it's good to have all these friends at my table. It's good to have all you friends out there too. Thank you so much. And then another cousin from my dad's side is Sue Hansen, sitting next to Father Conifer there at the Mary Mother Church. So thanks for being here, Sue. And then thanks to all my other friends, especially the Franciscan sisters. I think we have about 20 of us here. And we have about 20 Rotarians too, so this is a makeup. So, and then all the convent staff too that are here, thank you for taking time. And for many of you know it's the first time, so I hope it's a really enjoyable time. So, I was going to start my comments here, but I have to digress a minute. Many times over the years since I've been back in town, one of my former students, Mike Desmond, I had him in senior English at Aquinas about 50 years ago, and that's when he didn't have white hair. He often has gotten awards, as you know, so his former English teacher always sends him an email and I'll say, write it down. Because you know Mike, he can talk about anything, anytime to anybody, and he can add a little bit better than anybody we know. So anyway, great public speaker, but I say, write it down. You have to have it in front of you. And then I'll say, keep it short, okay? So guess what I got an email from? And then besides telling me to practice what I preach, he also said no ad lib, so this is my first ad lib. So this is where you'll think Barb and Joe and I copied, but anyway, to start my comments. I'd like to start with a quotation from a little book by Bill Gates Sr., Showing Up for Life. He starts the second chapter with a quotation you probably heard already from Woody Allen. 80% of success is showing up. Then Mr. Gates opens with this quote. A few years ago, I received an award from the YMCA. The day the award was to be presented, I looked around the crowded ballroom wondering all those people were there making a fuss over me. The only thing I could come up with was that I show up a lot. I know the feeling, Mr. Gates. Like him, I have showed up a lot. In 1980, I was first nominated and elected to a nonprofit board. Since then, I have served on many boards and committees. Fortunately, I am one of the rare people in the world who enjoys meetings if they have a good purpose and gets something done. So I have showed up at many. Then after I show up, I try to be totally engaged and involved. It's been a real gift through the years that others who show up with me have been marvelous mentors, leaders, and sources of inspiration. That includes many of you in this room, along with the 20 from our downtown Rotary Club. So please raise your hand if you've been together on any boards or committees through the years. Okay, thank you. You've all been an inspiration and a real leadership mentor for me. Thank you. When I see how committed others are to whatever we are meeting about, I try to follow their lead and never want to be a slouch. As my friend Lynetta Coop, retired executive director of RSVP, has said, and they're in Florida, by the way, for a couple months, so they'd be here. Her line is that we are all mad, making a difference. To do whatever I can do to make a difference is a real joy. As the English poet Percy Shelley once said, quote, the soul's joy lies in doing, unquote. I realize I am speaking to the choir because most of you have always been good at showing up and at making a difference. So let's continue to show up when asked, to be totally engaged and involved, and to be mad, making a difference. And to end as Tom Thibodeau always does, pace bene, peace and all good. Thank you. neglected to tell you that the author is known for the words. And his father, Al McBride from De Pere, he's an Armatine priest, I don't know if he's still living, Father Al McBride. All right, so please join me and we'll sing it twice, all right? So the blessing prayer for O'Neill. Bless our friends,